Hey guys, this is Michael Myers 101. I wanted to come back and make another analysis video. And this video is really to get into more detail about one of the criticisms I made in my Halloween 2018 review. Now, in that video, I said that I felt they showed too much of Michael, especially in the early scenes of the film. I've since realized that this actually ties into a broader criticism that I have with the film, which involves this human versus supernatural debate surrounding Michael Myers. So I've heard that in the original Halloween, John Carpenter wanted Michael Myers to be human rather than supernatural, like he was portrayed in a lot of the sequels. Before Halloween 2018 was released, I heard that John Carpenter wanted to go back to that idea and make Michael more human again. And I think that making Michael human, more human in the original, was a great idea, but it was a bad idea in Halloween 2018, and I'm going to explain why. So first, let's talk about John Carpenter's Halloween. A lot of people have argued that because John Carpenter portrayed Michael as more human in the original film, and because almost everyone agrees that John Carpenter's Halloween is the best film in the series, that people can't complain with Michael being portrayed as more human in the sequels. They say that Michael was human in the original that everyone loves so much. How can you criticize other films for doing the same? So here's my answer to that. I feel that while Michael was human for a majority of the original, in a way he was really just undercover or in disguise, and at the end he was shown as the supernatural force that he really is. This is part of what made the original Halloween so great. Someone watching the original for the first time would never automatically assume Michael is pure evil and supernatural. They just think he's a crazy, dangerous person who escaped from a mental institution and is going around killing people. The only hint the audience has of what Michael really is Dr. Loomis's famous speech. Where he talks about Michael Myers' evil. He says he's pure evil. However, someone watching the movie for the first time would just assume that Dr. Loomis is speaking metaphorically because there aren't really people who are supernatural and pure evil in real life. There's then there's the awesome twist at the end where the audience finally realizes that Dr. Loomis wasn't speaking metaphorically. Michael Myers gets shot 6 times, falls off a balcony, and then completely disappears in a few seconds. And you hear his breathing kind of echoing all around town. And it's this huge reveal at the end, and the ending was so great because it's so surprising and creepy. It makes you look back on the entire movie in a different light. You realize that Michael was actually so much more dangerous than you thought while you were watching the movie so far. Up until that point, you thought he was just a normal person, and I feel that this should be the transition to Michael being portrayed as supernatural. Now that we've had the big twist, the big reveal, we know what Michael really is, and he should be portrayed that way in any sequels to the original. However, a lot of fans don't agree that Michael ever became or was supernatural in the original, and there's tons of debates about this. I saw a lot of videos here on YouTube. I'm going to discuss 2 of the arguments I've seen people make, and I'm going to give my counter arguments. So first, some people argue that someone could be shot 6 times, fall off a balcony, and survive. So my counter argument is that yes, it is possible for someone to survive, but it's very unlikely. It's even more unlikely that the person would be able to completely disappear from sight within a few seconds. I believe it's so unlikely that it's really meant to show the audience that Michael is supernatural. Second, some argue that Dr. Loomis's famous speech that I discussed earlier was actually meant to be metaphorical, and that Dr. Loomis didn't really think Michael was supernatural when he gave the speech. My counter argument is that if Dr. Loomis was speaking metaphorically and didn't believe that Michael was really pure evil or supernatural, why was he not surprised when Michael survived being shot and falling off the balcony? As I discussed before, it is possible that someone could have survived, but it's so unlikely that you would be shocked if you looked down and saw he had disappeared seconds later. However, Dr. Loomis doesn't look surprised at all. He had more of a look that says, "Yep, I knew it." And I actually read an article that said that John Carpenter told Donald Pleasence he had 2 choices of how his character would react when he sees that Michael has disappeared when they were filming the original Halloween. He could either be surprised or he could act like he expected it. And John Carpenter said Donald Pleasance made the right choice by not acting surprised. This adds to the evidence that Michael should now be treated as supernatural. Now for some contrast, let's talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween. I feel that Rob Zombie's Halloween humanized Michael more than any other film in the series, and that was one of the biggest criticisms of the film. They show Michael's face a lot, they show Michael talking, they give him a reason to kill. He's getting back at all the people who abused him. The original series also gave Michael a reason to kill with the Thorn Curse, but that was a supernatural reason rather than a common reason that anyone could have. As Mr. Black's Movie Reviews used to say in his famous comparison between John Carpenter's Halloween and Rob Zombie's Halloween, I'll put a link to that up above. It's a great video, definitely check it out. He said, in the original, Michael is someone unlike any other, but in the remake, he can be anyone. Someone who kills just because he was picked on is not nearly as creepy or as eerie as someone killing just for the sake of seeing you die for no reason at all. However, while I feel that Michael was humanized the most in Rob Zombie's Halloween, I also feel that Rob Zombie's Halloween had a similar excuse to John Carpenter's Halloween, since it is technically the beginning of a new timeline. It's a remake of the original, not a sequel. So there is the excuse that this movie was starting a new story. It could portray Michael how it wanted to. Having Michael as a supernatural force right from the beginning of the film wouldn't have made much sense, since Rob Zombie's Halloween is sort of an origin story for Michael. However, I feel that Rob Zombie's Halloween proved that you shouldn't try to humanize Michael too much. So now let's talk about Halloween 2018. This movie was a direct sequel to the original. Therefore, for the reasons I've already explained, it should have portrayed Michael as more supernatural than human, just like in many of the original sequels. However, John Carpenter wanted to go back to Michael acting more human, probably because that was the way Michael was portrayed in the original. They wanted to get back to the feel of the original. However, I feel that the way Michael was portrayed, especially early in the film, contradicted the feel of Michael at the end of Halloween 1978. I feel that the ending of Halloween 1978 doesn't really make sense when you watch the new film. The end of the original Halloween, there was this huge reveal. The curtain was lifted on what Michael really is, and the beginning of this new film felt like they tried to go backwards and ignore that. That's why I was cringing when the doctor was talking about Michael like he's a normal person that can talk and watch people, and how the film showed Michael just standing there in the open in broad daylight, almost showing half of his face. All of this was after Michael had disappeared into the night with his breathing echoing around town after being shot 6 times and falling off a balcony in the original film. It just wasn't consistent. Still, as I've said in my reviews of the film, I really enjoyed Halloween 2018, and this was just one of only a couple criticisms I had. Also, Halloween 2018 didn't humanize Michael nearly as much as Rob Zombie's Halloween did. Thankfully, Michael never talked in this film, and they didn't try to explain why he kills, which was very smart. So this video was really just to explain how I feel about this debate of Michael Myers being supernatural versus human, and how I think it tied into my criticisms of Halloween 2018. At the end of the day, I really liked how Michael was portrayed as mostly human in John Carpenter's Halloween until the big twist. It's what allowed that big twist to happen at the end. But I feel that any sequels to that film should portray him as supernatural. But I really want to know what you guys think. Do you think Michael should be portrayed as more human or more supernatural? Or do you like a combination of both? Which movie do you think portrayed Michael the best? Do you prefer the films that to show more or less of him? Do you think Michael should have a reason to kill? Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.